Anya Lawrence, welcome.
Thank you very much. Hello, Luke.
Thank you for your time and your willingness to come and jump online and do an interview with us.
That's a pleasure.
So maybe could you introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us
Okay.
briefly what you do?
Okay. My name is Anya, and I have my own business that called Layered, and I make items. I sew and I make items from repurposed fabric. So I am an advocate for recycling and repurposing and using fabrics which nobody wants anymore and creating something beautiful out of them. That's what I do.
That's awesome. So taking unwanted things and making them amazing and desirable.
Yes.
That's awesome. So I know I'm kind of breaking the rules here because, I mean, this is the Durban Small Business Podcast, but you started in Durban, even though you are
Yes,
now
I
based
did.
in the Cape. So
Yes.
I'd like to say, if once in Durban, Durban will always be in you. And
It's so true.
yes, so you are a Durban-born business. And
Yes,
Durban will always be in
absolutely.
the blood and the veins of your business and your
Yes.
story.
Yeah.
So I've
Yeah.
had the privilege of being somewhat involved in your startup story, and it was amazing, and it still is amazing. So maybe could you tell us a little bit about your journey up to the point of starting your business?
We lived in KZN for about 3 years. And so in that time, that's when I started Layered. Okay, before I started Layered, which I started 2 years ago, we were a homeschooling family. So I'm a mum of 3 girls, and I was a full-time homeschooling mum. So in that season of homeschooling then, we would try and be as creative as we possibly can, as adventurous in the way that we learned, in the projects we did. And one of those things was to teach ourselves sewing. So I taught myself how to sew, and I taught my girls how to sew. My youngest is still too young. She's only 6, but hopefully she'll also be keen to learn. So we would often do sewing projects. And the most awesome thing that definitely will connect us, apart from other things, to KZN was this amazing shop that we found at the Aid Centre in Hillcrest. It's a haberdashery, and it is full, chock-a-block, with fabrics and accessories, or hardwares and ribbons and ropes and lace and whatever you can find, and it's all donated secondhand things. And we used to go rummage in there, and it used to be an exciting outing. And then the girls would see what projects they can make from what they find. And that is how the idea of Layered was born. I knew that the transition from homeschooling to school was going to be happening as our girls were getting older. And our oldest, Abigail, really wanted to go to high school. And I knew that I needed to start something for myself to, just have an outlet of creativity. But also, obviously, school costs money. So because we have never had to pay school fees, that's something that we would have to think about. So that's where Layered was born. Yeah.
That's awesome. So before we get there, so where are you based now?
Where am I based now? Okay, so we're
Yeah.
in the Cape, in a small town called Malmesbury, which is about just under an hour's drive from Cape Town. It's it's a small farming Afrikaans dorpie, super friendly.
The
Very nice place.
British lady in an Afrikaans town.
Yes.
Love
I
it.
definitely stick out like a sore thumb, but I try my best to integrate.
That's awesome.
And it's Bram will always say the Boer and the Brits. That's what he calls us.
So you're in Malmesbury, hey?
Malmesbury.
Moms. So I've seen the pictures of you guys because
Yeah.
you know you guys do posts and it looks very picturesque and looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah, no, there is elements of Malmesbury that's very picturesque, but it's also there are quite industrial areas of Malmesbury as well. The mills, big storage mills. I actually don't know what they are. Mills, they store flour, wheat.
Oh,
I probably should know more about that. Yeah, no, it's an area full of wheat fields.
Wheat fields.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how's business there? How's the transition been moving from Durban where you started up? And you'd only started up like a few months before you guys moved. So how's that transition been and how are you guys doing now?
Yeah, I think it's actually, I almost hardly did any business actually in KZN. It was more like the birthing of it that happened in KZN. And obviously I had some amazing photos taken there as well by yourself. And they are still the best photos I've had taken to this day.
Thanks.
So yeah, absolutely. And also wonderful memories attached to them as well. So it was really, it took a few months out whilst moving down. And then it was probably the beginning of last year. Yeah, probably the beginning of last year that I really started to market myself. Even though I'd started on Instagram, it was the beginning of last year, that I kind of, was able to really focus on it. And it's been going well. I probably have too many expectations of myself and of Laird to where I would like it to be. But actually, if I look at it, I'm happy with how it's going.
Awesome.
I'm happy with the progression. Yeah, it's obviously we have to walk before we can run, even though we tend to want to do it the other way around. So often I have to just take a deep breath and take stock and just take it as it comes.
Absolutely. I think as business owners and maybe if I could say inexperienced business owners, we are quite hard on ourselves. And I think as creatives too, we have this very idealistic view of life at times.
Yes.
And we get very frustrated when those our outrageous expectations aren't met. And I think part of this process is just learning to be kind to ourselves and just take it as it comes. I don't know if that you can identify that with that, or if that's been your journey.
Yeah, I think I find that I have lots of ideas, and then I want these ideas to happen quickly, and I try things out and I experiment with things, and then because that is actually a long process. To get an idea up and running is a long process, but I think everyone else kind of makes it look easy because, I mean, it's all out there, isn't it? On social media, all the markets that just we're surrounded by markets, and it is so accessible to see what other creative people are doing, and all the ideas are out there. So now, okay, you want to put your ideas into practice, and then you stumble and fall because why did it not happen straight away? Why did I not get this right straight away? And then personally, I feel very disheartened by it. And again, I have to pick myself up and, kind of put myself back on track. And that actually happens to me a lot. So, and I need to be faithful with the small things that I am doing now, and then just give myself time for these other ideas to happen and to
I think we also
succeed,
sorry to interrupt, we also see the finished products. We don't see the process. So we walk around, we walk around a market and we see all these amazing, beautiful finished products. or we scroll through Instagram or Facebook or on someone's website. Like for me, I look at your guys' stuff on Facebook and on Instagram, and I see the finished product. But we always forget that there is a very long process to get to that point, and that's the part that we don't see. And maybe if you would like to, maybe you could walk us through the process of making one of your products.
Yeah, so one of the very challenging things that I have chosen to do with Layered is to use only repurposed fabric. And there's many, many, many plus sides to that. But the biggest challenge is sourcing the fabric. Because now I know, that there is so much fabric waste out there. Whether it's offcuts, whether it's fabric people don't want anymore, whether it's fabric that has been made for something specific, and then, that specific company or design, that they don't need that fabric anymore. So then there's rolls of fabric just waiting, just sitting, not being used. Fabric waste textile waste is a huge topic. It's huge. And not many people actually know the damage that is doing, to the environment and the social impact it has. So the process that I'm going on of discovery about that, is part of my Layered journey. Okay, so but we can talk about that maybe in a minute. But so first of all, I have to source the fabric, okay, because I want to stay true to Layered. And that means I can't go into the fabric shop and see all these reams and rolls of fabric and just choose the fabric I like. The name is on there, the price is on there, however much. So if I want meters and meters, I can buy the meters and meters. I choose to go to those difficult places. I choose to have the difficult conversations of, hi, this is who I am. Do you have any fabric that you don't want anymore? Or where are your cutoffs? Or pick up the phone. Hi, you're an upholstery company. How much? Where's your? What do you do with your offcuts? And it's almost like I've put myself in this difficult situation because I want to stay true to what I've created Layered to be.
Yes.
But KZN, I could pop down to the second-hand shops, the 8 Cent or the SPCA, and there's the fabric. It's all, and it's going to a good cause. But now I don't necessarily find that. So I have to go seek it out. And many companies that I phone have told me, I don't have time to give away our fabric waste. It goes in the bin. And I respond by saying, no, but hang on a second. Do you know what you're doing? I can take that waste for you. I can make it into something, or I can channel it so it doesn't just go to the landfill. But please, can you don't have to do anything. I'll come and get it from you. And they'll say, nope, sorry, I don't have time. It's going in the bin.
Wow.
So, yeah. And other people, are very open to it. There's many people who are very, very open to it. But then, my studio is full of bags, full of fabric that people don't want anymore. And now I have it. And so you kind of border on becoming a bit of a dumping ground. Yeah, a hoarder. Yeah, because now I'm not going to throw the fabric away.
Exactly. Do you know what you're doing when you throw the fabric away?
Exactly. I can't throw the fabric away. The beginning of this year, last year, our bedroom was where I would do all my sewing, and all the fabric was in my bedroom. And the beginning of this year, we're like, no, we can't do this anymore. It's just too much. So we've created another space for it, which is great.
Amazing.
Okay, but getting back to the point. Source of fabric, loads of fabric from this size to obviously a lot bigger. And it all has to be washed and sorted. The fabric sample books that many companies don't need anymore, I have to rip it up. I have to tear off the paper, take out the staples, wash it all, hang it up.
Wow.
The process of getting my fabric ready is actually massive. It's not.
So that's
I
before
get
you
given
even
fabric
start creating something.
Yes, yeah. So
Wow.
it's
Okay.
not just going to the shop and getting the nice clean fabric off the shelf. It is a huge process. And then once my fabric is clean and ready to use, then often I don't have big enough pieces just for, a whole project, and I have to piece it together. So it's, the textures that complement each other, the colors that complement each other. And then I can start making it and sewing it, and and at the moment I'm mostly doing bags. So they're actually, all my bags are hanging behind the computer screen. So
Okay.
when I'm talking, I'm actually looking at them, and they're kind of inspiring my conversation.
Good. Keep that inspiration going.
So I have my certain designs that I do for my bag, the certain styles, and then obviously I can see which styles are most popular at the markets I'm doing. And that's how I make it up. And then once it's finished, then I try and put it on Instagram, and then I have it ready also for the markets. So that's my process.
So where are you selling your bags?
Okay, so at the moment I'm in two markets. I'm at a market about a 20-minute drive from here called Riebeek. It's a small village, and they have a monthly market, so I go there. And then the other place is Boerberg, which is a once-a-month farmers market. It is the cutest market ever. It's got the most awesome atmosphere, and everybody is friendly. But it's this awesome drive up this long mountain pass, and you kind of get up on top of this mountain, and then you drive some more, and you wonder where you're going, and then you get onto this farm, and it's a small market, and it's an awesome market. So I go there once a month. So I've committed myself in my heart to two markets. And Riebeek is lovely. It's nice and close. My parents live there. My sister and her family live there. So there's many connections to Riebeek. And then I think what I've noticed is to stay committed to one or two markets. I mean, people do many more, obviously, but my capacity at the moment is 2 a month. And, show face there every month. And sometimes I don't even sell anything, Okay. Again, I have to pick myself up from that as well, because that, can obviously have a negative impact. But to keep on going back and keep on being consistent, and I trust and I believe that will be good,
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the first time I'm doing it, obviously. I started the markets at the end of last year, and then this year I'm trying to be consistent. Yeah, so that's
awesome. Well done.
that's my consistent ways of selling. And then obviously Instagram, and then there's a couple of more markets lined up for the year as well.
Okay. So if people wanted to, A, take a look at your stuff, and B, order something from you, is that process? Does someone just direct message you? Do you get emails? How do you work that process?
Yeah, I don't get emails. The market is obviously a person-to-person contact,
Face-to-face.
face-to-face, that's it, where I can chat to people about my products and they can see it. Otherwise, at the moment, my only outlet is Instagram. It's Instagram, which then filters through to Facebook, but I'm very rarely on Facebook. It's more Instagram.
Okay.
And probably the biggest challenge of myself getting out there is the fact that I can't drive at the moment, which is quite a challenge, which means that I'm very dependent on whoever can take me places. So I have limitations on where I can go, who I can approach about selling my things. So that's why I'm at the moment choosing to keep it simple. Okay. I'm sure if I could jump in the car and get out there and go and explore, then maybe I'd be in more places. But this is where I find myself at the moment.
So can you talk to us about the moments leading up to you even having the idea of starting Layered? So what was the sequence of events that got you to the point where you said, okay, I'm going to hit go on this thing?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I've probably never really put it into words, so I'm going to try and explain it because I actually remember it well. It was obviously realizing that, okay, I need to do something. I need to, not only do I need to, but I probably can. I probably can start something here. And I remember one Saturday afternoon, I made a bag. And it's the first bag I ever made. And terrible colors. It was more, let me see if I can do this. And then Azalia, my daughter, used that for her books, for homeschooling, for about 2 years or more. And I think it was on the day I made it. I was so excited I'd made it. And I was like, oh, I can do this. I can make a bag. I can start a business. And it was that one time of, I think I can do this. And then probably in that week, I probably made another one. And then I made another one, and I made another one. And and then I made some cushions. Because cushions is very much a very similar concept as making a bag.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
And then very good friends of ours, Shen and Danica, they were starting a shop. And a shop in Waterfall. And I was like, we had a conversation about putting some of my stuff in there. And I remember writing the labels, and I called myself Oh So. I don't know, trying to be clever, thinking like no one else has a name like that. When actually, if you look it up, there are like gazillion so companies out there calling themselves Oh So Lovely and Oh So Pretty and I Can So or whatever it is, And I'm like, oh my word, I'm so unoriginal. But
so
anyway,
cliche.
I wrote my labels. So cliche. So cliche.
I'm just jumping on your humor there.
No, but it was quite funny. And I felt so chuffed. I got my things in there, a few bags, a few cushions. And I was like, oh my goodness. I remember thinking to myself, I need to make more. They're going to sell. I hardly sold any of them. I think I sold one cushion. And the bags took, as their shop obviously progressed, so my bags, I sold a few, but I had this feeling like I was going to sell so many, and I actually hardly did sell any. But in that process, I remember it was June in 2021, that I did my first Instagram post. So I don't know the time frame. It was Easter weekend I put my bags in their shop, and it was called Oso. I remember that clearly. And so it was a couple of months that I started thinking, what do I want my business to look like, and I wanted to make some certain clothes, and I wanted to, and then it was also a moment when I realized I want to use recycled fabrics.
Okay.
So in those 2 months.
What was it? Sorry to pause you there, but what was that moment like? Talk to us about that moment.
About using recycled fabrics.
Yeah.
I think it came from obviously knowing that I can buy secondhand fabrics was a good one, but also, if I'm really honest, we didn't have a lot of spare money, and so obviously secondhand fabrics is going to be more affordable than going to a fabric shop and buying new fabric.
Yes.
So it was more about how can I achieve something without having a massive outlay?
Yes.
And it was probably actually fueled by that more than anything else, because I had never really explored textile waste before. It was more being resourceful. You know, I think over the years, I've always been a very resourceful person, loving to, you know, not chuck things away. I've always composted. I've always tried to recycle. I've always, you know, I love secondhand furniture. You know, like Bronwyn also, she likes to renovate furniture. I've also loved to do that. I don't throw anything away. I'm not a hoarder, but I don't throw something away where I see it being useful. Okay. So naturally, my sisters always told me, and you're very resourceful. So I think I live up to that name. I am resourceful, and that's how that. Yeah, so
awesome.
It was probably a means
great.
to an end. Yeah, probably a means to an end. And then I remember very specifically where I was sitting trying to think about, okay, what name am I going to call this? Because, you know, Oso is extremely unoriginal, so we can't pursue that one. That's not good for my heart about being totally unoriginal. And it was a huge thought process on how I came up with layered, you know, because
these things do sometimes.
Yeah, and I think many people use their name as a name, their own name as a brand name, but I didn't feel that didn't sit right with me. Like, it didn't feel natural, and so yeah, I really pondered on layered, the name, and when that moment also came. Like when the penny dropped with that, when the decision was made, I was so happy with it.
That's awesome.
I was chuffed, yeah.
I remember you asking us about it and saying...
Oh, really?
I remember you showing us the bags, and then a week or a couple of weeks later asking you, you know, how's the naming going, and what have you decided on? And I remember you very sheepishly, you were saying... We've called it layered. I'm like, sorry? You said no, layered. Yeah. And like when you said that, like I could see your face lit up. I very clearly remember that, and the pride was just coming through your body language, and it was very cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. So well done.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So you decided on your name. You had been sewing a bit, which had basically come out of school projects, and now you took the plunge to start this business, and then we all ran up into the hills and we took videos and photos of the products, and we had an absolute jewel. Watched the sun setting over the valley, which was what a moment. It was absolutely stunning, and
it was.
Then you guys, so I'm just going through a time frame quickly, so you just correct me if I'm wrong in any areas. Then you started putting some of the content out, and then you guys moved.
Yes.
Shortly after that, you guys moved to Cape Town, or Malmesbury. Malmesbury.
Yes.
Malmesbury. Sounds like scones and jams. Malmesbury jams. I know for a lot of people that putting yourself and your products into the social media space is quite a challenge. It's like it takes a lot in us to put our stuff out there. How was that process for you? Taking, it's risky business putting your products, your hard blood, sweat and tears into the world. How was that for you?
Horrible.
Why? What was horrible about it?
Okay, I'm finding it easier now, but if I'm honest, the social media aspect of Laird has been the hardest for me.
What's been hard about it?
The vulnerability of it, and also I guess you want to create. Okay, no, hang on. I want to be authentic, so I want to be real. But even when you look at social media, people being real still look really good. you know. So they put their process out there, but their process even looks good. Like you know,
well, it's still curated.
It's still curated, exactly. And it's that curating process which is very hard. So I found it, the process is unpleasant for me because once I post it, I feel like there's no, you know, you've got to that point of no return. So it's out there now, and, you know, and it's funny because myself as an individual, I don't actually mind what people think of me. I'm very confident in myself and who I am.
Yes.
But when it comes to social media, I am not all over it, confident in who I am, and I don't give a stuff what people think. It is more a nerving process for me to press post, and I've done it, and it's almost like I actually close my eyes, I've done it, okay, and you know, and breathe, exactly. And the lead up to it, the taking photos, Luke, I become a different person when taking photos.
Yes. What kind of person do you become?
It's the most stressful thing. It's stressful. Like, everyone get out of my way because I am taking photos, and I find it the most stressful thing ever. And I know for you, you're extremely good at it, and I'm sure you also take a million photos, and then it takes you hours to edit, and that's the reality of being a photographer. So doing that when you're not a trained photographer is, you know, it's horrible. And you know, it would be awesome if we had the finances to pay a photographer, but for most people, you actually don't do it, you know, because now you need to post and you need to get things out there. So having professional photography all the time,
I would say you don't. So I'm going to interrupt you there and challenge you on this. I would say, you know, these phones that we carry can take incredible photos with very little input from the user. And I would say, you know, just making sure that there's enough light and that you're pointing it at the correct subject is a really good place to start. And I honestly maybe it's just me because I take photos and I do video, and I've become so accustomed to it. But I don't think you need, most people, and I say this at the detriment of, you know, the industry we're in, most people don't need video and photo because the hardware that we have in our phones and the software running them are actually perfectly capable of doing the job for you. And what that lets you do is to be creative with it. So that what you left to do is positioning the product correctly, maybe making the product sit nicely in an environment that looks good. So it takes a whole lot of pressure off of you, you know, to get the lighting right, to get the focus right, to get the, you know, make sure this is happening and that is happening. But all you need to do is compose it well and make sure it looks nice, and you can get creative with that. And it costs you next to nothing. There's so much software out there that, I mean, even in Instagram itself, some of the filters are great for what they are. And you don't nowadays. You don't need full-time, professional photographers to come through and do everything for you. And
although they do have their place,
they do, absolutely, 100%, completely. But I think in the world we live in, it's amazing that we can actually do those things ourselves.
Yes.
You know, you can do your own videos, you can do your own photos.
Yeah.
And it's just another form of expression of your brand. And I think from the photos that I've seen that you guys have been doing, I think you've done an amazing job. I think it's lovely, and it takes practice. And the more you practice, the better you get. And I think it's absolutely perfectly adequate to not use a photographer or a video guy all the time.
Yeah.
So well done on
thanks,
that.
Luke.
I think you've done amazingly well.
Thank you. It was very encouraging. And other people have also said, no, Anya, you're doing okay. It's, keep going. It's going okay. And
Yes,
I think
completely.
it is the just expectations of oneself. I think that's also what it is, and the danger of comparing. I think that is
Comparison is a killer.
Yeah, and that's what has always kept me away from social media is comparison. Even to your, in your own personal life. That's why I don't really do social media for our personal life. Because it's just not something that comes naturally to me, and so, but even with, or mostly, with Laird, it is seeing other people's things and comparing, and I am not exempt from it. I compare so often, and I think that's actually the root of why Instagram or social media is so daunting for me, is the comparison,
Okay.
if I'm honest. And I know that people say you shouldn't compare, and I agree, we shouldn't compare. But you have to train yourself to not compare.
I challenge you on that and saying I don't feel like there's anything wrong with comparison. If you look at how humans have evolved, we have to compare ourselves, example, to a lion. Or maybe someone, just purely for survival. Comparison is necessary.
Yeah.
Like, we have to healthily compare ourselves to competitors or to a threat. Only through comparison will you know if something is a threat or not. But I think that comparison is healthy as long as we don't lose ourselves to that comparison. And comparison is like self-awareness. Know our weaknesses, know our strengths. How am I, or how is Laird compared to something else? It's still a comparison, and it's a healthy comparison. It's not an unhealthy one where you are running by fear, where you are saying, maybe feeling intimidated in the sense of I'm not good enough or I'm not enough. But I would say healthy comparison is good. It's you can't get away with it. Yeah, you cannot get away with comparison at all. But it's the way in which we compare ourselves, and the way in which we so often lose ourselves in the process to our competitors, that we lose the trueness or the truth of who we are. So keep comparing yourself. But don't,
just not unhealthy.
And I'm speaking to myself too, but don't, it's so hard not to lose ourselves in that process. And I think let's spend less time and energy trying to not compare, but rather compare in a healthy way and know what our strengths and weaknesses are and play in those areas.
Yeah, I guess it's about also seeing what other people do, and in seeing what other people do, we will naturally compare, but actually choose to see the good in what they do and the good in what you do.
Completely.
But you're right in what you're saying. That is also a comparison. So it is more about the negative effects comparison can have, So, to see them in the space they're in, and probably doing so much more successful than you are, because obviously there's always going to be people doing more, things better, in terms of their effectiveness, or how big their business is, or whatever it is, how much they're selling. But choose to see the good. It's okay. That's good. It's a good thing. There's always going to be people out there.
I mean, you can spend your life building Laird to compete against others, or you can build Laird to represent who you are and what the brand is, and remain human in the process without losing your humanity in trying to keep up with everyone else or become something that you're not.
Yeah, no, and I think this whole process, and you've probably also found this, Luke, is also because we're putting ourselves out there, having your own business, to stay true to who you are and to be authentic. And that's something that I so truly want to do in this, is just to stay true, be authentic, and people can give their thoughts and ideas.
Yes.
And sometimes you get ruffled by these opinions, perspectives, and it ruffles you because should you be doing things a different way? Well, if I did that thing that way, maybe it would succeed, maybe I'd make more money, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you have to come back to who you are and how you've been created and what you are creating, and be authentic in that process.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've also.
So how have you tried to remain authentic in Layered to represent you, Anya? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as a small business or micro business, your brand is directly attached to who you are as a person,
yes,
as a human.
is. Yeah.
So how have you tried to remain authentic to yourself?
I think a few ways. Okay, let me think. Let me go through them. Number one is how I incorporate my family and my business, because obviously everybody's family is so important to them. So I'm no different to anybody else. But coming from a homeschooling background, my girls were we were so intertwined from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed. So that is part of who I am. It's not, okay, you're off at school now, I'm doing my business, we kind of living, doing our own thing. To some extent, yes, we are. But my heart cannot keep them out of what I'm doing. So keeping, just keeping it a family thing, that's okay. One thing. The other thing is to keep acknowledging God in the process, because Layered, the name Layered, why I chose it is because the fabric, okay, is all repurposed. So I'm using it, but maybe it's not new, the fabric. It's not old and grimy, it's not stained and distasteful. It's good quality fabric, but I'm maybe not the first person using it. So if I'm cutting a piece of clothing up, or I'm using the secondhand fabric, it's got a story before it came to me. So it is already layered, the story of the fabric is layered. And in the same way, we as people are layered. We are layered with our stories. We have so many stories to tell. And the way God has created us is full of layers. And, so staying true to God and being reminded that this is not actually my business. This is God's business. This is, and I really want to do it to glorify His name. With all of my heart, that's what I want to do. Sometimes I lose sight of it, and I have to pull myself back into what I'm doing. And also the other reason why I started Layered, why I chose to go into this as a business, is because I'm doing what my hands find to do, and that's, and this is what this is what God gave my hands to do, and so I'm doing it because He has given me the skill to do it. And that's the other thing, to stay true to that. And then the other thing which I feel quite excited about is that I've started a few months ago to teach other girls to learn to sew. And so a mum approached me about, would you be keen? And I realized, yes, I would be keen, because I've taught my girls to sew, so why can't I teach other children to sew? And so I've got 5 girls, and they come once a week, and I'm teaching them the basics of sewing, and it's going very well. And I feel like, oh yes, in my in my, being true to who I am as a mom, this is very close to my heart, teaching other girls the skill that I've got. And only using repurposed fabrics and teaching them that you don't have to go buy all this new fabric, even though it's very tempting and wonderful and has its place. New fabric always will have its place. There's also other ways to do it. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
That, I think, my family, God, teaching, at the moment, that's how
awesome.
I feel like,
Thank you for sharing that, Anya.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that very close part of your life. And I think there's a lot to take out from there, which is awesome. So I'm very aware of the time, and we've been going for a while now, and I want to respect your time. And I want to say thank you for making time to talk with us and to share your story. It's amazing.
Thanks,
and
Steve.
I would like to ask you, if there is one thing you could say to other people out there who have started or are starting their small business, what would it be?
I would say that we've all got something to be able to give and something to be able to create in whatever way, shape or form. We've got that something. And you just have to have that aha moment of saying, I'm going to do this. And if you say you're going to do it, if there's that moment where you say, I can do this, to take hold of that moment and do it with everything in you. Do it to the absolute best you can do it.
Awesome.
To be intentional with everything that you choose to do and to keep on going and persevering at it.
That's awesome.
And I think if we do things intentionally and with all of our heart, if we put our whole heart into it, then that is a good
That's awesome.
way to start and keep going.
That's amazing. So to summarize what you say, we all have something in us to give. Choose to give it. And when you have that aha moment and start giving it, do it to the best of your ability and with everything you have.
Yeah.
Did I
And
hear you correctly?
that can pertain, and that can be for a business, but also just in life with whatever things you choose to do in life as well.
Completely.
But yes.
That's awesome. Anya, thank you. Where can people find you?
They can find me
Besides
on
in Malmesbury, scones and
Malmesbury.
jam. Malmesbury
Okay, Malmesbury
jam.
is completely the opposite of scones and jam.
I know, it sounds like the name of a jam, though.
Malmesbury.
But when you say
fries
it,
and
the Brit
gayers.
says it, it sounds
It
like
doesn't-
very sophisticated.
Oh,
And it sounds
yes,
like it
yes,
could be a
yes.
jam, yeah. So where can people find you if they
Funny.
wanted to go check you
Okay,
out?
you can find me on Instagram. My handle is laird.fabrics. And then, that's about it at the moment. I'm on Facebook under my name, Anya Lawrence.
Awesome.
And then on Instagram, then I'll be posting where I will physically be. But that's it. Hopefully one day I will have a website, but I'm not there yet.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
I think you will. Yes.
I will get there.
Well, Anya, I will also put those details in the comments or in
Thank
the
you.
description of the video. And once again, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for the
And
privilege. This was
It's a pleasure.
good. Yeah.
It was an absolute pleasure. And I wish you all the best.
Thank
And
you.
can't wait to keep seeing your story and your journey, even if it is 1 or 2 provinces away from each other.
Well, KZN will always have a special place in our hearts. That's absolutely